Good morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. The Third Temple and the Ark of the Covenant. Now, in Bible prophecy, some people believe that the Ark of the Covenant is one thing that's going to come out when the Third Temple is erected, or around the time of the Third Temple, and that the Jews, the rabbis, know exactly where the Ark of the Covenant is, and they're ready to bring it out when the Third Temple is ready to go, or when they're ready to start sacrifices again. Now, an interesting new document, new quote unquote, has been translated in recent years relating to this. And so it gives some interesting clues as to maybe the timing of the revealing of the Ark of the Covenant. And in my timeline of the Return of the Lord keynote presentation, I've got several references to, of course, the Third Temple, the Ark of the Covenant. So again, the Temple Institute is looking to build the Third Temple. They have blueprints for it. They have all the priestly vessels, tools, implements. They've trained up the priests. They've got them all ready to begin sacrifices at a moment's notice, and they can even set up a temporary temple if they need to start sacrifices. And let's go back here. So here's another reference, and I had listed these events that must happen before the tribulation, before the 7-year period. And so Israel becomes a nation. Well, that's done. Economic collapse. Well, we're kind of in the middle of that right now. World government. We're moving quickly there. Mark of the Beast. Again, if you've watched my previous video yesterday, day before, you'll know that we're heading towards a digital currency. So a Mark of the Beast system, a world government to control the next pandemic and to right the economic ship, if you will, etc. All that is kind of in progress. And then we have this idea of Ezekiel 38 and 39, Gog and Magog, and some invasion that happens when Israel's at peace and safety. And certainly many people think Gog and the land of Magog represents Russia. And if that is true, then certainly Gog and the land of Magog, they are rising up in terms of power in the world. And because all their oil and gas profits are now cut off with Nord Stream, effectively, if Israel goes and supplies Europe with natural gas in significant amounts, then it looks like a good idea to take over Israel, wouldn't it, if Russia got into financial trouble? And so that's one of the things. It speaks of Gog Magog and the nations and the leadership coming to take a spoil from Israel. You take SP off spoil and you get oil. And so what are nations fighting about in the last days? Well, probably energy, probably natural gas, probably oil. So that's interesting. And then we have, before the tribulation, the Antichrist, the false Messiah appearing. I believe this is going to happen before the 7-year period. And at that point, when the false Christ, the Antichrist, the false Messiah, appear or take stage or kind of label themselves as such or take the position as such, then they will allow a third temple to be built in Israel in the name of peace and fostering, love and unity for all world religions, and ultimately to unite world religions. And then we have this idea of a third temple. Again, the pillars of Bible prophecy, as I've kind of set them out: earthquakes, economic collapse, war, famine, pestilence, sea and the waves roaring, signs in the heavens, and the last one is the third temple. All these things the Bible describes. Matthew 24, for example, is describing all of these things happening in the last days. And so we would expect them to happen, and it's all kind of a build-up to really the wrath of God, which happens, I believe, at the midpoint of the 7-year period, at the abomination of desolation, which happens apparently in the third temple, because the Antichrist causes sacrifices to cease and sits himself in that third temple on the throne, claiming that he is God at that point in time. So this third temple, the Ark of the Covenant, is very interesting from that point of view. So it's always been a question, where is the Ark of the Covenant? Is it actually still around? And many suggest that it will come out when the third temple is ready to go. And that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Many people have suggested that they've found it. Steve Wyatt, for example, he's claimed that he has actually found the location, seen it, and there's allegedly some photographs of it and such. And he talked to the rabbis. There's a few rabbis here and there that suggest that they know exactly where the Ark of the Covenant is. They're just not bringing it out until the Third Temple, because it would cause an uproar across the world if they brought this out potentially, right? So that kind of leads us to the discussion of the Treatise of the Vessels. Now, this is a new document similar to the Copper Scroll and the Dead Sea Scrolls that writes about the Ark of the Covenant. This is from livescience.com. Fate of the Ark of the Covenant revealed in Hebrew text. Now, this is December 2nd, 2021. This is a recently translated document. I think it was, I think it's 2011 or something when this was translated. But this is interesting. Now, I was trying to find the full text of the treatise of the vessels, but I could not find it. I found it actually, but it costs like $37 to get it from a journal. Oddly, the text isn't freely available, but let's look at it anyways, and maybe that's something I'll look to do in the future. Maybe see if I can purchase that and read it a little bit further. And I'll just read some bits from these articles, which speaks about kind of the Ark of the Covenant, the Third Temple. A newly translated Hebrew text claims to reveal where treasures from King Solomon's temple were hidden, and discusses the fate of the Ark of the Covenant. Now, in the last days, a lot of new information will come, and understanding of prophetic scriptures will come as well. And there will be dreams and visions of men in the last days, and we will have a better understanding of what prophecy, as it relates to Matthew 24, Ezekiel 38 and 39, Revelation, all these things will start being revealed to us. And so it makes sense that maybe this also is being revealed to us in the last days and will come to light. It says, but unlike the Indiana Jones movies, the text leaves the exact location of the ark unclear, and states that it and other treasures, and this is the interesting part, shall not be revealed until the day of the coming of Messiah, son of David. So it at least says, it states when the Ark of the Covenant will be revealed at the coming of the Messiah. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but it gives us a timeline of when this particular document, and the document writer believes that the Ark of the Covenant will be revealed. The day of the coming of the Messiah. Now this is interesting, because what does the coming of the Messiah mean? Well, I believe the coming of the Messiah is at the midpoint of that 7-year period where God comes back and the wrath falls. And so why would it only be revealed at the coming of the Messiah, son of David? Because we won't need that anymore. We don't need the temple anymore when Jesus Christ rules and reigns on earth. He will be there. He doesn't need the mercy seat. He doesn't need to dwell in an ark. The Shekinah glory doesn't need to dwell in the Ark of the Covenant at that point, in some temple, fourth temple, whatever it may be, because Jesus Christ will be right with us. The Shekinah glory will be right there in him in the millennial reign of Christ. So being revealed at the second coming of Christ doesn't really make sense to me. I think it makes sense that if there is such a thing that people believe is the original Ark of the Covenant, it will be revealed at the building of the Third Temple, which is 3.5 years prior to the wrath of God coming, and prior to the actual second coming of the Lord. Now, it goes on here. The newly translated document, the Treatise of the Vessels. Now, this is the name of it. You can Google it if you want. Also named Masechet Kelim, which is the Hebrew name of it. Again, I can't find the full text for this. If you can find the full text, let me know. I'm very surprised that it's not just open. But it says the treasures were concealed by a number of Levites and prophets, says James Davila. Now, this is the professor at the University of St. Andrews who transcribed this. He wrote that in an article in the book of Old Testament Pseudepigrapha, More Non-Canonical Scriptures, Volume 1. And so he wrote that in 2013. Some of the treasures were hidden in various locations in the land of Israel and in Babylonia, says the Davila in his article, while others were delivered into the hands of angels. Shamshiel, Michael, Gabriel, and perhaps Siriel. So this gets into kind of the, again, the extra biblical. Well, it doesn't get into it. This is extra biblical. This is not found in the Bible. But it gets into the biblical, extra biblical realm where it starts talking about angels and angels, maybe taking these treasures to be revealed at some point in time in the future. The treatise is in some ways similar to the metallic copper scroll, which I mentioned before, one of the Dead Sea Scrolls found near the site of Qumran in the West Bank. The copper scroll also discusses the locations of hidden treasure, although not from Solomon's temple. The treatise itself, describes the treasures in an imaginative way. One part refers to the 77 tables of gold, and their gold was from the walls of the Garden of Eden. So this is kind of interesting. 77 tables of gold, and their gold was all the way from the Garden of Eden. That was revealed to Solomon. Now this, again, extra biblical. I've never heard that before. Very interesting that there could be gold that was in the Garden of Eden that was again used in the temple. And will it be revealed again? Will the same gold be used? Very, very interesting. Honestly, the Bible describes in heaven that the streets will be paved with gold. I suspect that God's going to gather up all the gold in the world, and He's going to pave heaven with all the gold in the world. So if you have a gold coin, if you've ever touched gold, I'll just put it out there. Maybe you're touching the roadways of heaven when you touch that gold. That's a crazy idea, but I just think that would be cool if God used that from the earth to pave the streets of gold with gold in heaven, and you may have some connection to it in the gold. And I think there's probably a lot more of that kind of stuff that we don't realize that God's going to maybe reuse, especially in the millennial reign of Christ when He redoes the earth and brings peace and security for the millennial reign. What's He going to do with all that gold? Interesting. But it says, 77 tables of gold and their gold, 77 tables of gold and their gold was from the walls of the Garden of Eden. So the walls of the Garden of Eden, I guess, were gold is what this is suggesting. That was revealed to Solomon, and they radiated like the radiance of the sun and moon, which radiate at the height of the world. So interesting text. The oldest confirmed example of the treatise of the vessels here, which is the interesting document, which survives to present day, is from a book published in Amsterdam, 1648, called Emek Halakha. In 1876, a scholar named Adolf Jelinek published another copy of the text, which was virtually identical to a 1948 version. Davila is the first one to translate the text fully into English. It says, the writer draws traditional methods from scriptural exegesis interpretation to deduce where the treasures might have been hidden, but I think the writer was approaching the story as a piece of entertaining fiction, it says, not any kind of real guide for finding the lost treasures. Interesting. The study of the treatise is ongoing, says the article. This is from Live Science, by the way. And discoveries continue to be made. For instance, in the mid-20th century, a copy of it, with some variations, was discovered and recorded in Beirut, Lebanon, of all places, at the end of a series of inscribed plates that record the book of Ezekiel. So this treatise of the vessels, this is kind of a fascinating thing, and I looked for the original text of this document. I could not find it anywhere on sacredtext.com or any other location, but apparently there's very interesting information in there, which I would love to take a look at and kind of compare to the Bible and other extra biblical texts, which may or may not correlate the information in that. Certainly, it's curious about the Ark of the Covenant. Many people claim to know where it is and claim that they know exactly where it is, and they claim that it's going to be revealed at the right time. Jewish rabbis claim that. So this is kind of one thing to keep an eye on. I think there's going to be more supernatural things happening in the last days as we get further and further in. As Satan gets more and more desperate, we're going to see more and more power and supernatural power by him used, of course, controlled and limited by God, but used in the last days to basically kill as many people as he can. That's what Satan wants to do, because he wants to take as many people with him to hell as he can. And so in the last days, there's going to be more and more supernatural things. And so as those supernatural things start coming out, the Ark of the Covenant certainly is supernatural. And if there is any power left still in that, and I don't think it's anti-biblical for there to be still some residual power in the Ark of the Covenant. It makes sense, right? The Shekinah glory, if it resided in the Ark of the Covenant at that time, it would make sense that there was, potentially residual power there. I don't know. Maybe it's part of God's plan that the Jews will bring this out, and in some fashion find some power through it again, as they kind of show faith in the original Old Testament Shekinah glory and dwelling place of God on earth. So I don't know. I'll leave there, guys. I don't want to drone on forever. But it's a very interesting text. The Treatise of the Vessels, I could not find any more information on it. It sounds like a fascinating thing. And if you find an article like that, let me know. I'd love to read the whole thing. But interesting about the Ark of the Covenant. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll leave it there. We'll see you in the next video.